Good morning, everyone. It is Tracy with Frosted Whimsy Events with your roadmap to the altar. And I'm excited about 2021. We're starting something fresh, something new. And for all the newly engaged brides, the first thing that I know vendors ask you a lot of times is, what's your budget? And do you have an overall wedding budget? Do you have an overall budget for each one of your services? Where to start? Why is it important? And that's kind of what we're going to talk about a little bit today. And so what is a budget? Well, it's the amount of money you have to spend on your wedding. And why is it important? Really, it takes away the stress. It takes away the stress of planning when you know exactly, one, how much money you have or will have or hope to have or plan to have to pay for individual services. So not only do you need an overall budget, you need an individual budget for every single service, and also a miscellaneous budget, because there are little things that will add up, and we'll discuss all of that at some other day. And why is it important to be on the same page as your partner? Well, for example, if you're not on the same page, you might think that X amount of dollars is okay to spend for a particular service, and they may think it's valued at something else. Why? Because you have different priorities. I always tell couples that you need your top 3 must-haves for your wedding, and that also kind of guides a little bit how much you spend on that particular service. For a bride, it could be flowers. For a guy, it may be beer. I don't know, and food. So that's where you prioritize and then make sure you're on the same page. Also, you have to make sure that when you communicate and you're on the same page is where the money is going to be kept. And if you pull money out, say something. You may have someone that pulls that money that is for something that's non-wedding related, and you go in to pay a vendor, money's not there because you don't communicate. Communication is so important and is the key. And what happens if you don't have a budget? Number 1, you quickly run out of money. 2, you start telling your vendors, which happens all the time, you're the last half of your planning, and you might go to a baker. I owned a bakery for many years, and I had brides all the time come and tell me, I've already spent all of my money on X, Y, and Z. Can you give me a good deal? I'm like, I have a family too. And so vendors will sometimes bless a bride, but it's up to that vendor to decide at that point in their business, in their season of life, in their season of their finances, when to bless a bride and when they can afford to bless a bride. But that happens all the time, and brides just don't think about that. They don't think that from the vendor's perspective. And also, you'll start feeling overwhelmed when you don't have a budget. And you start feeling overwhelmed because it's like a lack of control. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what's going to do. You don't know if you're going to have your dream wedding. You're going to start making sacrifices. Well, during the wedding planning process, you will have to make sacrifices, and that's part of it. You'll have to make sacrifices within your marriage, but it's for the greater good. It's not all me anymore. It becomes about we and us and ours. So it is really important. And so my biggest takeaway from budgeting is, one, you got to have one, and you got to be on the same page, and you got to have a plan. And if you don't have a plan to fail. And I don't mean that negatively. I mean it more as you'll bring on undue stress in the planning process, and it might suck the joy out of planning when you don't want it to. And we don't want to suck the joy out of planning. So thank you so much, and you guys have a great morning.